Be me. Name is Brooke. 32 years old, senior marketing manager at Pinnacle Media Group. Sitting in a conference room that should have 8 people. Only 3 of us showed up. Me, Gina from project management, and our intern, who looks terrified. The creative presentation was supposed to happen today. Client flying in from Chicago specifically for this meeting. But Trent, the senior designer, isn't here. Lionel, the account director, isn't here. Desmond, the creative director, isn't here. Nobody's here. Because they're all boycotting the office. Over bathrooms. Yes, bathrooms. I wish I was joking. 3 weeks ago this company was normal. Now it's a war zone over where people pee. And I'm caught in the middle, watching everything fall apart. Because our new CEO decided to make a statement, without thinking about the consequences. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me start from the beginning. Pinnacle Media Group is a mid-sized advertising agency. About 150 employees, mix of creatives and account people. Based in a nice office building downtown. I've been here 6 years, started as a coordinator. Worked my way up to senior marketing manager. Good company, good people, interesting work. We do campaigns for retail brands, tech companies, hospitality. Creative industry, so the vibe was always casual. Jeans and sneakers, beer in the fridge, flexible hours. People actually liked coming to the office. Collaboration happened naturally. Designers and copywriters bouncing ideas off each other. Account people popping into creative reviews. That energy was our competitive advantage. You can't replicate it over Zoom. Our old CEO retired last year after 20 years. Built the company from nothing. Good guy. Board hired a replacement, Felicity Hartwell. 49 years old, came from a bigger agency in New York. Impressive resume, lots of industry awards. Also, very vocal about progressive causes. Her LinkedIn was full of posts about transforming workplace culture, challenging outdated norms, building truly inclusive environments. I thought, okay, fresh perspective, could be good. We're a creative company, should be open to new ideas. First month Felicity, mostly observed. Met with department heads, reviewed processes. Gave a nice speech about her vision for Pinnacle. Said she wanted to make us an industry leader. Not just in creative work, but in workplace innovation. People nodded along, seemed positive. Second month she started making changes. Updated the parental leave policy. Good change. Implemented flexible work arrangements. Also good. Created an employee resource group for LGBTQ staff. Fine, we had a few gay and lesbian employees who appreciated it. Everything seemed reasonable. Then came the bathroom announcement. Third month Felicity sent a company-wide email. Subject line, creating a truly inclusive workplace. The email explained that traditional gendered bathrooms were exclusionary to non-binary and transgender employees. Created anxiety and discomfort for those who didn't fit binary categories. Effective immediately, all bathrooms would become gender-neutral. The signs on the doors would be changed. Anyone could use any bathroom. This was described as a bold step toward genuine inclusion. I read the email and felt conflicted. I understood the intent. We had maybe 2 or 3 employees who identified as non-binary. One person was transitioning, had been using the bathroom of their identified gender. Nobody had complained about that. But now all bathrooms were for everyone. All the time. The women's bathroom where I'd had private conversations. Where I'd fixed my makeup and vented to colleagues. Now men could walk in anytime. The reaction started within hours. Women were uncomfortable, but mostly quiet. Didn't want to seem intolerant. The men were more vocal. Trent came to my desk looking confused. Asked if I'd seen the email. I said, yeah, what do you think? He said, honestly, I don't want to share a bathroom with women. Not because I have anything against women, but because it's weird. I'm going to be standing at a urinal and someone's coworker walks in. How is that comfortable for anyone? I didn't have a good answer. Lionel had similar concerns. Said he felt awkward about the whole thing. The bathrooms weren't designed for mixed use. Urinals were right there in the open. No real privacy. He wasn't trying to be bigoted. Just didn't want to pee in front of female colleagues. Seemed like a reasonable concern. First week under the new policy. I went to the bathroom and froze at the door. Old familiar women's room sign was gone. Replaced with all gender restroom. I pushed open the door nervously. Nobody was there. I used it quickly. Came out and ran into Trent going in. We made awkward eye contact. Both looked away fast. This was weird. Throughout the week, similar awkward encounters. Women walking in while men were at urinals. Everyone trying to pretend it was normal. But it wasn't normal. We'd all been socialized for decades. To have separate spaces for this. You can't undo that with an email. End of week 1, people started complaining. Not publicly, but in whispers and private messages. Gina told me she'd started using the bathroom on a different floor. One they hadn't converted yet. Said she just wanted to pee in peace. Without worrying about who might walk in. I admitted I'd been doing the same thing. Going to the coffee shop next door. Just to avoid the awkwardness. Week 2, the men started pushing back harder. A group went to HR to express concerns. Led by Desmond, the creative director. 30 years old, been here 5 years. Not a conservative guy, pretty progressive actually. Had gay friends, supported trans rights. But this felt like a step too far. They asked if there could be a compromise. Keep some gendered bathrooms. Add gender-neutral ones for those who preferred them. Options instead of mandates. HR Director Nadine took their concerns to Felicity. Came back with the answer. No compromise. Felicity said the whole point was normalizing inclusion. Having separate options would defeat the purpose. Would signal that gender-neutral was abnormal. The policy stood as written. Desmond and the others were frustrated. They tried to engage constructively, offered a reasonable middle ground, and got shut down completely. That's when the boycott started. Week 3, Desmond stopped coming to the office. Said he'd work from home until the policy changed. Trent followed the next day. Then Lionel, then 5 more guys from creative. Then 3 from accounts, 2 from production. Within a week, about 40 male employees were refusing to come to the office. Over a quarter of our workforce. The office felt empty. Desks that used to have people were vacant. Meetings that required collaboration couldn't happen. Projects started falling behind immediately. I needed Trent for a presentation. He was working remotely, but it wasn't the same. File sharing and video calls don't replace sitting together and iterating in real time. The energy that made us good was gone. Felicity addressed the boycott in an all-hands meeting. Said she was disappointed but not deterred. Said progress always faced resistance. The men boycotting were clinging to outdated comfort. At the expense of marginalized colleagues. She wouldn't reward that behavior with compromise. The policy would remain. If people couldn't handle inclusive bathrooms, maybe Pinnacle wasn't the right place for them. I sat there feeling sick. She was essentially daring them to quit. Calling their concerns bigotry. Not acknowledging any legitimate discomfort. Just ideology, no empathy. The women in the room looked uncomfortable too. Most of us hadn't asked for this. Didn't love the gender-neutral bathrooms ourselves. But we were being told we should support it. Because it was progressive. Because questioning it was intolerant. Week for the productivity crisis hit hard. 3 major projects were stalled. Without the creative team in office. The collaborative process broke down. One client presentation had to be postponed. The Chicago one I mentioned at the beginning. They rescheduled, but were clearly annoyed. Another client called, asking what was going on. They'd heard rumors about internal problems. Were worried about their campaign. I had to reassure them everything was fine. While knowing everything was falling apart. Revenue projections for the quarter were down. New business pitches were being delayed. The company was bleeding money. Over bathrooms. Week 5, the story leaked to the media. Someone talked to a journalist. Probably one of the boycotting employees. Headline: Ad agency torn apart over gender-neutral bathroom mandate. The article went viral. Suddenly, Everyone had an opinion. Social media exploded with takes. Half said Felicity was a hero, fighting for trans rights against bigoted men. Half said she was an authoritarian, forcing her ideology on employees who just wanted privacy. We became a national news story. Our company name attached to culture, war controversy. Clients started calling. Not about campaigns, about whether they wanted to be associated with us. 2 smaller clients paused their contracts, said they needed to see how this played out. A bigger client scheduled a call with our CEO. Wanted to discuss the situation directly. The brand damage was real. Week 6, the financial pressure mounted. We'd lost an estimated $400,000 in delayed projects, plus the paused contracts, plus opportunity cost of pitches we couldn't pursue. The board started asking questions. They'd hired Felicity to grow the company, not to shrink it over bathroom policy. A board member named Walter requested a meeting with Felicity and department heads. I was invited as a representative of affected teams. The meeting was tense. Walter asked Felicity directly, was this policy worth destroying the company? Felicity said she wouldn't compromise on inclusion, said the boycotting employees were wrong. They'd either come back or be replaced. Walter asked how long that would take, and how much more money we'd lose. Felicity didn't have good answers. Walter asked the rest of us what we thought. I took a breath and spoke up. Said I supported trans inclusion in principle, but the implementation had been handled badly. No consultation with employees beforehand. No options for people with legitimate privacy concerns. No acknowledgement that comfort wasn't the same as bigotry. The result was a divided workforce, crashed productivity, damaged client relationships, and national controversy. This wasn't what inclusion was supposed to look like. Gina agreed, said most women she'd talked to weren't thrilled about the policy either. They'd adjusted because they didn't want to seem intolerant, but given a choice, they'd prefer traditional options, plus neutral ones for those who wanted them. Walter nodded and turned to Felicity. Said the board had discussed this situation. They respected her vision, but not her rigidity. A compromise would be implemented. Gender-neutral bathrooms would remain available, but traditional men's and women's rooms would also be restored. 3 options instead of 1 mandate. Everyone could choose what worked for them. Felicity looked furious. Said this was a step backward, a capitulation to bigotry. Walter said it was a recognition of reality, that you can't force cultural change through mandates, that alienating your workforce isn't leadership. The meeting ended with the compromise ordered. Felicity was given a formal warning about unilateral decisions, told to consult stakeholders before major policy changes. Next week, the bathroom signs changed again. Now we had 3 options: men's room, women's room, all gender room. Signs explained everyone was welcome to use the facility that matched their identity or preference. The boycotting employees started returning. Desmond came back first, looked relieved. Trent returned, made a joke about missing his desk. Lionel came back, said he'd never wanted to boycott, just wanted to be heard. Within 2 weeks, attendance was back to normal. The office felt alive again. People collaborating, energy flowing. The thing that made us good was back. The non-binary employees we had used the gender-neutral bathroom, which is what they'd been doing before anyway. Nothing changed for them practically. They just wanted an option that felt comfortable, not a mandate that made everyone uncomfortable. The trans employee, who'd been transitioning, said she preferred the women's room anyway. Always had. The whole mandate hadn't helped her at all. Just created drama she didn't ask for. Month after the compromise, productivity was back to normal. Clients who'd paused came back. New business pitches resumed. The crisis was over. Felicity remained CEO but was clearly diminished. Her bold vision had hit a wall of reality. The board watched her more closely now. She'd learned that leadership wasn't just about vision. It was about implementation. about bringing people along instead of dragging them. 6 months later, she quietly left, took a position at a nonprofit, more aligned with her values, apparently. Her farewell email talked about needing to work somewhere her vision wasn't constrained. I think that was the right move for everyone. New CEO was a guy named Barrett. Practical, collaborative, no grand ideological projects. Focused on doing good work and treating people well. Simple but effective. Year later, I got promoted to VP of Marketing. The company had recovered fully. Actually grown, won some new accounts. The bathroom controversy was a distant memory. We still had all 3 options. Nobody complained about any of them. People used what felt comfortable. That's how it should have been from the start. I think about the whole experience often. What it taught me about leadership and change. Felicity wasn't wrong to care about inclusion. Trans and non-binary people deserve respect and accommodation. That's not controversial to me. But how you implement inclusion matters. Mandates that ignore legitimate concerns create backlash. Calling discomfort bigotry shuts down dialogue. Refusing compromise when offered shows rigidity, not strength. The men who boycotted weren't bigots. They were people with privacy concerns. Concerns that many women shared but didn't voice. Their needs mattered too. Real inclusion includes everyone's needs, not just the needs of the group you're focused on. The compromise worked because it gave options. Nobody was forced into discomfort. Trans employees had a bathroom that felt safe. Traditional employees had bathrooms that felt familiar. Everyone could choose. That's what inclusion actually looks like. Options, not mandates. Respect for different needs. Acknowledgement that one size doesn't fit all. My daughter is 8 now. She asked me once why bathrooms had different signs. I told her it's because people have different needs. Some want privacy from certain groups. Some don't care. The best places give people choices. She nodded like it was obvious. Because it is obvious. A child can understand it. Some adults make it complicated. Because they care more about making statements than solving problems. Anyway, that's the story of how our feminist CEO mandated gender-neutral bathrooms for everyone, without consulting employees or offering alternatives. The male staff boycotted the office. Productivity crashed 40%. We became a national news story. The board forced a compromise. 3 options instead of 1 mandate. Everyone came back to work. The company recovered. And we learned that inclusion doesn't mean forcing everyone into the same box. It means creating enough boxes that everyone can find one that fits. Privacy isn't bigotry. Comfort isn't intolerance. Different needs deserve different options. That's not complicated. But somehow we made it complicated and almost destroyed a company in the process. All because one leader confused vision with virtue and forgot that people aren't obstacles to overcome. They're stakeholders to include in the process of inclusion. Ironic, really. She wanted to include marginalized people by excluding everyone else's concerns. That's not inclusion. That's just different exclusion. Real leadership finds ways to include everyone, not by ignoring differences, but by accommodating them.